is away. And the kick is... It's gone! And the Eagles win!
It's hard to come to South Philadelphia and leave here with the win. You just don't come to Philadelphia and leave here with the win.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
What up, y'all? What up? This is another edition of the Eagles Elite Podcast, where we're coming at y'all different tonight. One time only. We're talking every NFL team's free agents. And of course, we're going to spend some time at the end digging into the Eagles because that's who we do and that's who we are. But y'all a little sauce, a little info on all the teams. We're going to talk about the moves that have been made so far. And for those we have thoughts on, we'll give them. For those we don't, we're going to keep it moving. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. You see we did everything all different today. Intro first, we all here. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. And of course, joining me this week, as always, is my guy Wyatt.
Yes, sir. What's going on, Bird Gang?
What's going on, Philly as well. And our very own Eagles diva.
What's going on, Bird Gang? I can't call it was good.
A better day for Eagles free agency today, but we'll get to that later on. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into it here. We're going in alphabetical order. So if you're a Falcons or Cardinals fan, you better jump on early or catch the replay. But starting off here, we're gonna start with the Arizona Cardinals. So the additions that the Arizona Cardinals have made, they added offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum. They added offensive guard Will Hernandez, our very own former linebacker Kaiser White, and a former Eagles player Corey Clement, as well as Matt Prater and linebacker Zeke Turner. So before we go on to the next team, any thoughts on any of the moves that the Arizona Cardinals made in free agency, Wyatt or Eagles Diva?
You want to go, Diva? I don't know if you had anything to say or not.
I mean, it's all right for them. I'm not too sure under Gannon as a head coach for them how that's going to work. But I mean, some decent pickups. There ain't no bumps and no scrubs and nothing. I kind of wish we would have kept Kaiser White, but you know, maybe he likes Gannon's style.
Yeah, I kind of expected us to either keep Kaiser or like TJ Edwards or something, but I mean, to see them both go, I was like, damn. I was like, what are we going to do? I mean, we got Nakobe Dean, but other than that, we're going to have to try to find someone maybe in the draft or through free agency or something. But, you know, it's nice to see some of these guys go out and get the bag, be able to get paid because we're not in a position to just be throwing money around right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it, I watched anything else. I'm just looking at it like we lost White. That's you know, we also lost our other corner. So, you know, I mean, not corner, tripping. We also lost both of our starting linebackers. But I mean, our focus is singular right now. So some of these guys are going to fall by the wayside if they're signing these smaller deals kind of early. We've got a couple of focuses. Obviously, Bradbury was one. Obviously, we're also going to be looking at GJ still, trying to work something out on that end. So those are the focuses. Everybody else has got to come, you know, secondary to that. So guys go out, kind of get their deals early, do what you do. Congratulations to you. But, you know, we got this singular focus that we got to worry about right now. So, yeah, not too much on Arizona, but they didn't make any really major moves.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't even see the Corey Clement signing. Man, he's just going whoever will take him at this point.
Hey, got to get that money, man. Got to get that money.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll move on to the Atlanta Falcons. And with said Falcons, we have so they had some additions. They added linebacker Lorenzo Carter. They added tight end Jonnu Smith via trade. I'm not going to really get into the numbers too much. You know, you can always go look those up. but more so educating you on who's where. Offensive guard Chris Lindstrom, defensive tackle David Onyemata. They added a punter in Bradley Pinion. I have to highlight the punter. This punter has a 3-year, $8.65 million deal as a punter. Just want to throw that out there. Right. Safety Jesse Bates III, really good player. Offensive tackle Caleb McGarry. Linebacker Caden Ellis, a very good backup or possible starter in Taylor Heineke. And then Keith Smith, fullback. So that's the additions that the Atlanta Falcons had. Any specific thoughts on those guys? I mean, you don't have to talk about all of them, but
yeah, Jesse Bates is a good signing for him. I think Jesse Bates is a great sign. I mean, obviously the deal wouldn't be done right now, but I'm very surprised the Falcons aren't in on like Lamar somehow. I feel like they would be the perfect team to try to go out and get Lamar. But hey, they went out and got Taylor Heineke. He's out of the division. Don't have to worry about Heineke anymore for who knows how long when we play the Falcons again. But I mean, the Falcons, they could be building something here. I mean, they've been trying to rebuild for the past couple of years. But I mean, that's a couple nice pieces in there.
For me, I still don't see it at quarterback. I think that's one of their problems.
Yeah,
they lost their slot receiver unless they bring back Zacchaeus, and he hasn't been signed as of yet. So, some improvement in other areas definitely, but got to have, some defense and a quarterback to win. Still don't see it there.
Yeah, that offense, there's like nobody other than like Kyle Pitts.
I mean, Jonnu Smith would be a good addition.
Well, yeah, Jonnu Smith. They traded from the Patriots. Yeah. You haven't heard that name too much though, since he went to the Pats, because they also had like Hunter Henry, right?
Yeah, I think it was smart of him to get out of that franchise. That franchise is a cluster club right now.
Yeah.
Philly has a happy late birthday to Eagles Diva.
Thank you, Philly, and Scrub. Appreciate
Scrub hits us with a "What up, Eagles fan? What up, Scrub?" And then also Scrub with a happy belated birthday as well. So appreciate you guys shouting out our very own Eagles Diva on her birthday.
Showing love.
On yesterday. And Eagles Diva, any thoughts on Atlanta that you want to slide out there, or are you good?
Nah, we can keep moving.
Fair enough. All right, so let's slide over to the Baltimore Ravens. Not a lot there. We know the whole situation with Lamar Jackson. I don't know if anybody wants to touch on that. But also they signed cornerback Trayvon Muller to a 1-year deal, and running back Justice Hill, one of their backups, they re-signed. So not a lot of moves there. I do find the Lamar Jackson situation a little interesting, and I am monitoring that just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Eagles Diva, you have any thoughts on that?
No, just I am a little interested, and maybe it's the reason. I don't know. Maybe it was his gameplay after he came in, like it. And then he's been hurt a lot. So I don't think we've ever got to really see the full, healthy Lamar Jackson that we've seen in Louisville. And he even got hurt in Louisville as well. But his game of play was high in Louisville, and it hasn't translated over to the NFL yet. So I can kind of see why they're not saying, hey, yeah, he's our number one. But, yeah, a little iffy too.
Yeah. Man, I feel like this deal should have been done like a couple years ago now. I feel like this has been ongoing for so long, but it's something about it just seems so shady. I mean, especially with everything going on. I mean, you have NFL players calling them out and everything. Just like they do like the non-exclusive franchise tag, and like all of a sudden you have all these teams that should be going out trying to get a QB that are automatically like, nah, we're not interested. And it's like, why? Like, why all of a sudden is nobody interested when a lot of these teams were in on Deshaun Watson just last year, but all of a sudden now that Lamar's open, like, you don't want him. I don't know. It's very fishy what's going on. But I mean, injury history definitely makes sense, though. I mean, best ability is availability, they say. But man, Lamar Jackson, the talent's there. I mean, he was an MVP. It's just a matter of keeping him healthy and just building around him. The Baltimore Ravens haven't really done anything for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree here with Scrub. Ravens is doing my guy Lamar dirty. Mm-hmm. I think another piece is teams are realizing that all you're really doing is putting together a contract for the Ravens, and nobody wants to do that, right? Because they have the right to match any offer. So the problem you have with that is you either make an offer and you get him, but in the time it takes for you to make that offer and work on that contract with him, other guys are getting scooped up. So then you don't have the ability to grab other guys. A lot of these teams have grabbed either a starter or a competent backup to possibly play with a young guy that they have on a team or they anticipate getting. So I think the thing really for me is you put Lamar in a bad situation because I think a lot of teams feel like it's going to be matched. And also, they don't want to do fully guaranteed contracts. I think they are colluding for that purpose because you don't want that. You don't want to get anybody consistently getting guys on high dollar, fully guaranteed contracts. I did read a report that he declined a 3-year, $133 million fully guaranteed contract. Definitely think the years and the money was a little low on that based on what the market's saying right now. So definitely feel like they lowballed him on that one. I don't know if there's been any other talk since then, but I know he did, reveal that that's what he, turned down from the Ravens. So we'll see how that continues to play out, man. It's crazy. You would think, like you guys were saying, that he would be treated better by the organization, but hey, we all know how it goes, and it is what it is. But I think he ends up getting a deal somewhere. I think the Washington Commanders are a good spot for him to land. I hope not, because it's a division rival, but I think that may be one of the good spots that's still left that he could slide into. But we'll see kind of what happens after we, get a little further down the road here. We'll see.
Yeah, I saw some rumors about them looking at Jacoby Brissett before he got signed, like for as a backup, because I guess Tyler Huntley's going to be moving on. He might be trying to either get a starting position or a backup somewhere else. So it's interesting. They're still looking at backup QBs. Like seems like they're trying to prepare in case he gets hurt again or something. But I don't know, man. I it sucks. For a player of that much talent, you hate to see him being in that kind of position right now.
Yeah, I think he either ends up with like the Commanders or back with Baltimore, playing on that franchise deal, and then testing free agency again next offseason when there'll be more jobs open.
Yeah, just go to them Falcons, man. I think he would be awesome on the Falcons.
They don't want him, man. They don't want him.
Yeah, they don't want him.
All right, so we'll move on to the Buffalo Bills. They will re-sign safety Jordan Poyer.
Yeah.
They have QB Kyle Allen that they signed. They signed guard Connor McGovern, a wide receiver and a punt returner, Deontay Hardy. So basically a punt returner. A punter, Sam Martin. Again, 3 years, $7.5 million for a punter. Tyler Matovich and Matt Milano, 2 linebackers that they signed as well. So Buffalo, re-upping on Jordan Poyer at safety for 2 years. A couple of solid signings, and they got a guy that can play a little bit of wide receiver, probably slot, and then as a punt returner as well, and Deontay Hardy. So I think I'm pretty solid. Nothing outstanding, but nothing horrible. Matt Milano was a good pickup as well, of course, but to re-sign him. But, nothing amazing, but at the same time, Buffalo was a pretty solid team. Obviously needed a little help down the stretch on defense and needed their quarterback help. It's a pretty solid team already.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people expected Jordan Poyer to sign somewhere else, but it seemed like after some of the safety signings that kind of set the market, he's just like, I'll just go back and sign with Buffalo. So, I mean, hopefully that bodes well for our safety issues because it kind of set that market. We know what kind of what to expect at this point as far as like a price range.
Yeah, it was a 5-year deal. It was reported the first 3 years were guaranteed. So let me explain that, Scrubber, why I said the way I did. Lamar's focus was the guaranteed years. If you're only guaranteeing the first 3 years at 133, then that's really the contract, because after the guaranteed dollars, he could be snipped, right? And all you just have to do is pay the rest of the money, balance it out over those last 3 years, unless none of it was guaranteed. So I look at it like the guaranteed years are what's important. And then to answer your question here, are the Bills finally going to utilize their running backs this year if they go sign some more? Because the guys that they had, they don't really want to, focus on too much. I don't think, or they've shown in the past that they haven't, but I'm expecting them to either grab a guy in the draft or get like one of these guys that are left in free agency as far as the shoring of the running back position, because I definitely would say, and I'm sure you'd agree, and Eagles Steve, I'm sure you and Wyatt would agree as well, big problem that they have is definitely running back on that team. That is a weakness.
Yeah, you can't have Josh Allen going out here running like a running back, taking hits like he is every single game. Like, you can't have your QB out there in harm's way like that.
And I think that's probably why he threw those crazy passes, because he didn't.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, we talk a lot about the other running quarterbacks, not as much about him. But hey, like
He's
you
just
said, Wyatt,
reckless. That
yeah,
dude how we saw how it can end with old number 11. So I mean, you don't want that to happen. And I don't mind the Bills. I don't mind Josh Allen, so I don't want to see that happen to him. So dude just needs to try to get out of bounds or slide, man, slide. But he's just like diving over dudes and taking hits. Like can't be doing that, man. No matter how big you are.
he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn one of these days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll be next. We'll talk one of the teams who had a last minute addition that we'll just go ahead and throw in. That's the Carolina Panthers. So they added safety Von Bell, defensive tackle Shy Tuttle, QB Andy Dalton. And another really good pickup I think for them is Hayden Hurst, and they also picked up Miles Sanders, former Eagles running back.
Yep, Miles found it
Sounds like
home.
he's getting a big deal with them. Getting that bag that he really wants. So I think the Panthers so far, they've made some quality moves. They still have a lot to do on the offensive line, but you're getting skill position guys that are going to be better than what you had. And you have Andy Dalton, who could be a mentor for a quarterback. I don't know if that's the guy you want to play if you're trying to win, but if you're attempting to get another high pick next year, then he might be the guy you want to play. If you want to, roll that way.
Frank Reich likes his older quarterbacks to just like stay in the pocket.
I mean, I understand that, but
yeah, but I'm just saying that's not a good thing in today's NFL.
No, like you're gonna need a quarterback. Like, you can't go get all those pieces and not have a quarterback for like Miles Sanders and the Hurst kid.
Yeah,
he's really good. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
they have the first pick in the draft now, so there's an opportunity.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see what Miles can do behind an O line that's not top in the league. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see what he's made of. I'm hoping the best for Miles, though. I always liked Miles. I mean, he went out there, got the bag. Sucks he had to go, but I don't know. I don't know how he's going to do behind that O line unless they get it fixed up.
Well, I do, sir. He's not going to be very good behind that line that's currently constructed. That's what I do know. Now, if they go out and fix it, I mean, still have time, still have somebody to spend, so they can go out between the draft and free agency and try to upgrade some of those positions that need to be upgraded. But as of now, some good moves, but definitely just the beginning of more moves that need to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on here to the team that they did make a trade with to get the number 1 pick, and the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears, got a plethora of picks from them. We're not going to all the details of it, but they ended up getting the first round this year and the first round of next year, as well as DJ Moore. As part of that trade with the Panthers. Besides DJ Moore, the Bears were able to add Kari Blasingame, who was a fullback through an extension, linebacker Tremaine Edwards, guard Nate Davis, and they definitely need offensive linemen there too. Linebacker TJ Edwards, another former Eagle. We're hearing a lot of Eagles being called on these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive end DeMarcus Walker, running back Travis Homer, and lone snapper Patrick Scales. So, Chicago, I think, is doing a good job of saying, let me go and shore up the defense, as well as try to get some guys from offense. They had the most money to spend, so they spending it, but they're spending it for the most part wisely, I think.
Yeah, I think with that new GM and everything, I think they're doing a great job so far this all season. They already committed to Fields. I mean, they know what they have in him. I mean, Fields just needs to, just like Jalen did, has to work on his game from year to year to develop. A lot of people don't want to wait for these QBs to develop nowadays. But, I mean, they went out and got DJ Moore. He's a great piece to have, shoring up that defense, which, Chicago's been mostly known for their defense. But now they can actually have an explosive offense to go along with that. So we'll see what else they can do this offseason. But they should have a better season in general than the past couple.
Any thoughts, Eagles, to you?
No, but I mean, it is they do get some good pieces. So I expect them to do a lot better, be a better team this year, but they picked up some pieces now.
Yes, sir. So we'll hit up a couple of comments here. So Scrub Zero says, yeah, Allen is way too reckless for my liking. Got to be worried about that. He says he doesn't know why the Panthers traded their number one wide receiver. They didn't trade their number one wide receiver. The number one wide receiver is Terrence Marshall Jr. They traded the guy that they overpaid and got his money off the books. That's what really happened. And Eagles Diva, I know that you can concur because you all, as well as myself, live here in North Carolina. We see who being forced to watch all the Panthers games. We see who's actually out there making the plays, and that's Terrence Marshall Jr. And that's why they were willing to give him up, and they're not worried about it. A Cobb, my man, my guy, the big homie. What up with my Philly Dillies? What's going on, A Cobb? Appreciate you checking in with us, big homie. And Scrub with another comment. Bears looking like a viable organization this free agency period. Hey, on paper, they looking really good. What we're gonna see is when we move this to the actual field, if it still looks as good.
It's gonna be interesting in that division with old Aaron being gone. Will the Vikings take over, or what's going on?
Vikings can't take over because they have the White Dak Prescott quarterback.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's open.
But the Bears have a chance of coming back and making a name for themselves like they did in the 90s. So, I mean, Justin Fields, as long as he can stay healthy and they picked up those pieces, I think that as long as it translates on the field, it might not translate this year as well as we think it will. But next year, I definitely think them to be a contender, period.
Yeah, quite possible. I can see it.
I think the division is still the Lions to lose, though. Honestly, I think the Lions are the best team in this division.
As long as they keep, improving year after year, like they have been so far under Dan Campbell.
I honestly think if the Lions don't get any better than they were last year, they're still the best team in this division right now. That's just
I can see that. Yeah, Vikings are going to choke somehow, some way. They always do.
When you have the White Dak Prescott, that's going to happen. Just saying.
Yes.
All right, and then we'll move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Not a lot of moves here. They just signed linebacker Jermaine Pratt, running back Travion Williams, and then safety Michael Thomas. So some small moves so far for them. One of those teams that, they know that they have some decisions to make here in the next year or two. So kind of being frugal with the cap because obviously the space can roll over to when you really need it. So, nothing big for Cincinnati, but, locking up a few pieces, some areas they feel like they might need some depth and improvement in. Any thoughts, guys?
They need to stay away from our boy CJGJ, because apparently that's the only other team linked to him other than the Eagles is the Bengals. So they need to stay away for time being.
Yeah.
It's on them.
But they're like kind of in the situation like I mentioned like over the past couple of weeks where it's like it's a top tier team. You're just trying to stay afloat, stay decent, fill these holes you have and these pieces going in and out. It's not like the Eagles where it's like, oh, we have, because this is a kind of a rare situation we're in where it's like so many pieces are leaving. We got to try to figure everything out where it's like normally you have a couple pieces you got to figure out maybe through the draft or through free agency. I don't know. I mean, there's not much they have to do year in, year out until they start having to pay some of these young guys, like some of the receivers.
Yep. So we'll do you have something to say, Eagles Diva?
No, I just said basically.
Yeah.
Why I said.
Yep. So Cleveland Browns, safety Juan Thornhill, defensive back Obu Okunwankwo, center Ethan Pocic, defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, and safety Sian Taki. So, nothing big again. Cleveland, a lot of money tied up in their quarterback. He restructured his deal to allow them to have some cap space to make some of the moves that they did make. But, another one of those teams, you paid the quarterback that hit you pretty hard on the cap. It doesn't allow you to make a lot of moves. So, that's what I think we're seeing from Cleveland. But it wasn't a bad team last year. They just didn't have a starting quarterback. We'll see when he gets a full camp. He gets a chance to be around for all activities, go through the preseason and everything. We'll see if we see a much better Deshaun Watson this year. That's the only question that Cleveland has, whatever moves they make.
Yeah. This is really seeing Deshaun Watson, really, because you paid him all that money. And, I mean, dude only played like one year and hasn't played in like 2.5, 3 years. So, yeah, really seeing if he can still translate over. I mean, because now he ain't fresh in the game no more. So,
Yep. And then we'll go ahead and slide to the Dallas Cowboys, or as they are known on this show, the Arlington football team. Of course, they franchise tag running back Tony Pollard. They did, of course, release Zeke Elliott today. Um,
Peace.
they
Bye-bye.
added safety Donovan Wilson, who's actually a pretty good guy for them. They traded for cornerback Stephon Gilmore,
Mhm.
who they believe still has a lot left in the tank. We'll see if that's true.
We'll see.
They re-signed linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, and they restructured offensive tackle Tyron Smith. So, I mean, the thing is, Stephon Gilmore via trade and a bunch of people that were already on the team. This is the MO for the Arlington football team. It has been for years. It'll continue to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say. I mean, they usually don't go out and make huge, big splashes. I think you said that last week, so it's like
Mhm.
it is what it is. Stephon Gilmore is Stephon Gilmore, but at this point, it's like I'm not with the weapons we have and everything. I'm not afraid of that dude. He's like 34, 33 or something.
I think he's older than Darius Slay.
Yeah, it's all
And he
right.
done fell off. I ain't really heard his name. Not this season.
Yeah,
Not like you. Nah, bro. The only thing they might do is go get another running back for Zeke. I don't know if it's gonna be in the draft or if they're gonna try to go, in the
They
free
probably got to
agency.
get one in the draft because they have some money, but you always got to roll over because you got to pay guys in the future. That's the thing that I think gets a lot of teams is you see that cap and you try to get up against it every year, but then you still have to think you got guys you got to pay right every year. So
yeah. I'm
We'll
glad
see.
I don't have to see that dude 2 times a year now.
I mean, we really wasn't seeing him no way because Pollard had took over the spot. I mean, they was only using him here and there. But yeah, I'm just glad he's gone. We ain't got to see that at all in the NFC East. So,
like he did too much eating, that's why he's gone, huh?
right.
But yeah, guys, we'll move on here. Denver Broncos, another team that made a lot of moves here. So we'll see if you guys feel like any of these moves were real needle movers or just kind of, we need to make some moves. Let's make them. So the Denver Broncos added right tackle Mike McGlinchey, which I do think was a good move. Tight end Chris Manhertz, probably a backup. Linebacker Alex Singleton, defensive end Zach Allen, running back Samaje Perine, who might be big for them. Good backup in QB Jarrett Stidham. Another offensive lineman Ben Powers. They paid their punter $940,000 for 1 year. Not like these other punters getting
Like $8 million.
$8 million for a couple of years, right? They also added offensive lineman Quinn Bavey, who looks to be a backup. Linebacker Jonas Griffin, same, and then fullback Michael Burton. I'm interested to see there's been a couple of teams who've actually added fullbacks. What I find interesting is, are you going to actually use them throughout the season, or are they just going to be on the team collecting a check? Because I don't see a lot of fullbacks on the field. I see a lot of teams with fullbacks on the roster. So what are we doing here? What are we really doing?
Yeah. I think it's cool to see Alex Singleton finding some success somewhere. I always liked him on the squad. It just didn't fit what we were trying to do at the time. He had some iffy plays here and there, like he had some trouble tackling. But hey, I'm glad he found some success over there in Denver.
You're being very kind.
Yeah, he's being very kind. Very,
Very kind.
Yeah, I liked him. He was all right.
I mean, it sounds like some good moves. It's just, what are you going to do with your quarterback? Because I'm hearing reports that Sean Payton doesn't like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is just getting weirder and weirder. So.
And no matter how weird he get, you stuck with that contract, baby, because there ain't another Jets out there begging for a veteran quarterback that's got everything else to go around him.
Broncos Nation, let's ride.
All right, and then we'll move on to the Detroit Lions. In free agency, the Detroit Lions added defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs, cornerback Cam Sutton, linebacker Alex Anzalone, running back David Montgomery, definitely underused in Chicago, cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, defensive lineman John Kaminsky, defensive back Will Harris, offensive lineman Matt Nelson, and they re-signed running back Craig Reynolds. So any thoughts on the Lions moves? I think these are solid moves. And again, running backs they're adding, cornerbacks they're adding, and shoring up the line and then adding Alex Anzalone as well. So
they're doing exactly what they need to do. There's not going to be anything super flashy, but it's a lot of pieces they really needed.
And they're already the best team in the North.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're trying to lock that down going forward.
The Green Bay Packers, they added cornerback Tyshawn Nixon and offensive lineman Jake Hansen, and they're about to get a little influx of talent and or picks for one Aaron Rodgers, who has said where he's going next year. He's called his own shot. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, all I gotta say is if they blowing it up and we don't bring back Slade, we'll take Rasul Douglas back. We want to make a little trade.
Yeah, we'll definitely take Russell back.
All right, we got a few comments here. We'll hop in real quick. So Scrub Zero says, well, first he says, Bears looking like a viable organization is free agency period. We did talk about that one.
It's weird, right? It's been a while since we've seen like a competent organization over there in Chicago.
Very strange, very strange. All right, so the Scrub Zero says third cousin still going to come up short, always will. That's why he is known as the White Dak Prescott.
Like, go ahead, extend him. That's fine.
Our thoughts on running back Penny, Shady Sports. Stay tuned. We're going to get to the Eagles last but not least. And we're going to talk in detail about those guys in Philly for sure. Panthers shed cap space also by Shady Sports and allow Wright to pick his QB. More is a win now. Peace on the win later team.
Veteran wide receiver. Getting paid a lot, but I mean, he does his job though.
All right. Scrub says Cleveland lost games last year because of poor situational football, not because of the QB. Scrub, the QB didn't put them in some of those situations. Because, I mean, there was only – because the guy they had, he wasn't bad, right? But he's just not a starter. Jacoby's a good backup, a spot start guy if you need it, but he's just not that top 15, top 20 even quarterback. And you needed that in some situations so that you didn't end up in certain downs or certain distances and things of that nature, and they could really go down the field more. And it's no knock on him. It's just he is who he is. Snowman hits us with a fly, Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles fly, baby. We always love those. And then Shady Sports also says McGlinchey is the best right tackle Denver has had in 10 years. Hey, there's nobody on this panel that'll argue with you about that, sir. And then Russ tipping for Sierra too much. Hey, man, I'm going to tell you like this. There's a lot of women who wore similar outfits to what Sierra wore. It's a problem, as Russ said himself, it's a problem when his wife does it. Other people do it. Beyonce does it. Oh, it's beautiful. It's brave. It's daring. But he's simping if it happens with him. So, But I will also say in Russ' defense, if I'm going home to Sierra every night, I'm going to do a little simping. And, it is what it is. I ain't mad at the bed for that. You know what I'm saying? Mad at the bed for that. That's just as real as it gets.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll hit the Houston Texans. Added wide receiver Robert Woods, defensive back Jimmy Ward, safety MJ Stewart, quarterback Case Keenum, defensive tackle Hassan Ridgeway, running back Mike Boone, defensive end Chase Winovich, wide receiver Noah Brown, pretty much a glorified special teamer, guard Shaq Mason, the trade from the Bucks, Sheldon Rankins is a defensive tackle, tight end Andrew Beck, and center Scott Quisenberry. They re-signed. So,
Quisenberry.
Again, Quisenberry. I mean, D'Amico Ryan is building his team from the ground up. I think Woods is a solid piece. Jimmy Ward definitely be a good corner or safety wherever they want to play him, and he's got some versatility for that. Keenum will be a good mentor for whoever they're going to draft at number 2, whoever's left of the top 2 quarterbacks. And then Ridgeway, I think will be a good piece on that team as well, just because of what he could do for that defensive tackle position. Any thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, they just trying anything right now. I mean, anything can be better than what's been going on the past couple of years with them. So I mean, that's why it seems like they scoop pretty much more than any other team has right now. They're just trying to find some pieces that'll fit and work for them. Try to find something to build a foundation around.
Yeah, they're just a rebuild season right now. Rebuild mode.
Pretty much. And then speaking of rebuild modes, the Indianapolis Colts or as a
Yeah.
friend of mine likes to say, the Indianapolis Colts. And they have defensive end Samson Ekubon, kicker Matt Gay. I just want to say this kicker got 4 years, $22.5 million. A kicker.
22 million.
That's what it says.
He better be
Line,
making every field goal.
Man, you better be making 56 yarders, 60 yarders, 70 yarders.
bootlegs.
Yeah, everything.
Real.
Better be kicking that mug from the tunnel.
Better be punting. Better be punting
So
too.
This is Shane Steichen's team. This is your boy Shane. Mr. Scared to call anything daring on offense. Steichen. This is his team.
We need a kicker bad.
Right. Yeah, because it sounds like he's going to have to depend on that kicker way more than he would like to.
Linebacker EJ Speed, wide
Who's the
receiver
quarterback?
Ashton Doolin.
Does anybody?
Nobody knows. Defensive end Taquan Lewis, wide receiver Christian Wilkinson, center Dakota Sheppy, and defensive tackle Tavin Bryan. A lot of these are kind of like, more like depth moves. Guys who made rotational guys. So nothing big, but Indianapolis, they're going to have to do something in the draft.
Yeah.
And as Eagles Diva alluded to, they haven't started the quarterback position.
Mhm.
Till they do that, they'll never be able to compete.
Yeah, they got to draft someone.
Definitely. And we'll move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, Dougie P.
Doug
Dougie
P.
Dog.
and them boys.
Okay,
So, they franchised Evan Ingram, and no movement on that as of yet. They did sign defensive lineman Roy Robertson Harris, who's a pretty good guy, pretty good player. Safety Andrew Wingard, cornerback CJ Beathard, and Tavon Campbell. So again, not a lot of big moves. Most notable thing there is I think Roy Robertson Harris is a good guy for the defensive line. Wingard could end up being a starter for them.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Evan Ingram had a monster year there, and it makes sense for him to want to stay and continue doing that there because that's just the most productive I've ever seen him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He did have a good year, but other than that, he just keeps getting hurt. But I'm glad he had a good year. Hopefully, he can continue that though for him.
Yep. And we've been through a couple of teams, and we haven't mentioned the former Eagles, so I'm feeling better. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle Jawan Taylor, 4 years, $80 million. I wanted to highlight that just because that's a lot of money. And then edge Charles Omenihu. And then defensive lineman Tershawn Wharton. Kansas City is one of those teams, kind of like the Eagles, didn't have as many free agents, but don't have a lot of money, right? Their quarterback's gotten paid, and we all know how that affects everything moving forward after that. So, making some smart moves, but just not enough money to make a lot of moves. But we don't spend much time talking about Kansas City and the extra 3 players they had in the Super Bowl disguised as refs. So move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. We have running back Josh Jacobs. Of course, they franchised him. Defensive tackle Jerry Tillery. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be their new starter. They did also sign wide receiver Jacoby Myers. Safety Marcus Epps was a pretty good player. Linebacker Robert Spillane. Cornerback Brandon Faxon. Running back Emilio Dule re-signed. Brandon Parker. Tight end Jesper Horsted. Guard Natane Moody. A fullback in Jakob Johnson. And safety Roderick Teamer, who they also re-signed. So a couple of big moves there. Jimmy G, franchising Josh Jacobs, of course. Jacoby Myers, big time deal for him, 3 years, $33 million. Jimmy G got 3 years, $67.5 million. So that's
that's a lot. Jimmy G can't stay healthy enough.
Yeah. I don't think he can throw the ball nearly as well as Carr could, and Carr was mid. So,
and then
good
let's
luck.
not forget that you signed Jimmy G, who needs a dominant tight end. A guy that can go in the middle 5-10 yards and catch the ball.
and
then you trade Darren Waller. So all I'm going to say is, if I'm the coach of that team, and I don't utter his name because of what he did to Philadelphia the year after we won the Super Bowl, with wanting to be a head coach and saying he's going to be a head coach and then chickening out.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm going to say to him is, you're getting what you deserve. And then
it failed before for him, and it's going to fail again.
And I will be happy every time it fails for him. I will be happy. And we'll move on to the Chargers of Los Angeles. They have right tackle Trey Pipkins III, linebacker Eric Kendricks, which is a good sign for anybody. And then QB Easton Stick has re-signed. I have no clue who Easton Stick is. I had to go look him up and just make sure that he was an actual player and somebody wasn't playing a joke. He is an actual player. Apparently his dad or mom really was into baseball. I don't know how you name your child Easton as their first name, but it's not on me. That's on them. That's sad. That's something different. All right, we got a couple more comments we'll hop on here. So Scrub says the Las Vegas Patriots. Here we go again with former Patriots coaches shaking my head. Hey, I'm good with it. Do your thug fizzle. Sign them all. They don't work. Sign them. And then Scrub also says, thanks for Waller. Pats West. Right. That's a good move for the Giants. And we'll of course talk about that.
I thought so too.
That's a good move for the Giants, yeah. No hate on that one at all. Very smart. All right, so we'll move on to the hornless Los Angeles Rams. Tight end Hunter Long, they got via trade. Not a major piece. Offensive lineman Michael Holt, they tendered him. Linebacker Kristen Roseboom, he got tendered as well. And cornerback Sean Jolly. So, nothing really to talk about in the Rams. Of course, they did lose a guy you may or may not have heard of that we'll talk about actually right now in quarterback Jalen Ramsey, who went to the team that we'll discuss next, the Miami Dolphins. I'm sure nobody had any thoughts on the Rams. But if you did, feel free.
They still reeling from that Super Bowl year, like literally going all in for that win, and they're still feeling the effects from it.
No doubt. So the Dolphins, of course, added Jalen Ramsey. They also added QB Mike who? Mike what? Love that guy's name. And linebacker David Long, running back Jeff Wilson Jr. they re-signed, as well as Raheem Mostert they re-signed. Linebacker Duke Riley, offensive tackle Kendall Lamb, running back Salvin Ahmed, defensive back Elijah Campbell, running back Myles Gaskin, tight end Eric Saubert, and safety Deshaun Elliott. So quite a few, moves. Some of them were just guys that they already had to bring it back. A couple of free agents thrown in there as well. But I'll tell you, the biggest two moves I think for them, well, actually three. Re-signing both of their running backs in Wilson and Mostert, because those are guys that work well in that system. And with healthy, they should be good. Jalen Ramsey trade, whether he's the same player he was or not, you put him in that defensive backfield that they already have, he instantly makes them better as a number 2 corner. And Mike White was a brilliant 2-year deal for them. This deal will be over the same time that Tua's contract will be over. So if Mike White ends up being better than Tua because of Tua having injuries and whatever else happening with him, any neurological side effects, but you got a guy, Mike White, that I think could be a starting quarterback in this league. So for me, I thought that was some great moves. What any thoughts you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, I've been liking a lot of the moves the Dolphins have been making since last year and everything, since getting the new head coach and everything. It's all going to hinge upon Tua, whether he can stay healthy or not. I mean, I definitely think he's going to end up missing some games this season just based off of what we've seen so far. So, I mean, like you said, picking up Mike White, who has proven that he can play well given the circumstance. On the Jets, he was playing well. So, I mean, you put him on the Miami Dolphins with that stacked roster right now. Hey, he could do something if Tua goes down.
Yep, definitely. Eagle Steve, any thoughts from you, ma'am?
Yeah, I mean, Miami's just rebuilding so they can get to where they need to be. I mean, they ain't been a team since the early 80s. Technically, they ain't been too good of a team. So, I mean, I'm liking what they're doing. They're definitely going to be a contender. Definitely probably could be in a playoff run if Tua can stay healthy. Now, if he can't, I mean, I don't know. But Mike White is pretty decent, and then you do have a stacked O-line, so should be all right.
Yeah, that's a stacked division too. Other than the Pats, that's a pretty good division. You add Aaron Rodgers in there.
Aaron. Haha.
Mm-hmm.
E-Ron.
All right, and the Minnesota Vikings have added cornerback Byron Murphy. They got the tight end Josh Oliver, center Garrett Bradbury, defensive end Marcus Davenport, who I like a lot, long snapper Andrew DePola, quarterback Nick Mullins, and kicker Greg Joseph, with a more respectable 1 year, $2 million deal instead of a 4 year, $22 million deal. Just saying.
I think I just saw before we hopped on. I think they just re-signed Mattinson too, so they're keeping their running back, their backup running back. Who, hey, they might be their running back one going into the season if they're able to move Dalvin Cook. Who knows?
Madison's a good player, man. I like Madison a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't mind if we got him, but I'll take what we did. Eagles Diva, any thoughts?
No, basically what y'all said.
New England Patriots, or as I forever will call them, the Cheatriots. Safety Jabril Peppers, they re-signed. Offensive guard James Ferentz. QB Jonathan Jones. Cornerback Jonathan Jones is a QB CB. Offensive tackle Riley Reif. Offensive tackle Kelvin Anderson. TikTok boy Juju Smith-Schuster. Defensive tackle Carl Davis. Linebacker Raekwon McMillan. Offensive tackle James Ferentz. And offensive lineman Connor McDermott. I'll let y'all talk about everybody else, but I want to say, Juju, you're a clown, and you're going to be exposed this year because you don't have Pat Mahomes and the referees helping you out this year, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And we get to play the Pats this year, and we brought Bradbury back, so you're going to get locked down, sir. Prepare.
And you're going to take a few nice, strong hits.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably going to take a hit. He's going to take a hit or two.
Or 5.
Yeah.
It's okay for the Pats, but it's like, what are you gonna do with your quarterback situation?
Hey, y'all better be on the phone with Lamar Jackson too. Real talk.
Right. Real talk.
At that position, that's very necessary to be successful in the NFL. So you better do something about it. All I'm saying. All right, and then we have the New Orleans Saints. Of course, they signed QB Derek Carr to a 4-year, $150 million deal. It's not all guaranteed, but we'll go into that at another time or another station. But for now, that's what we got. Defensive tackle Nathan Shepard was also signed. Defensive tackle Kalen Saunders. We're seeing a trend here. They re-signed Juwan Johnson, who I think is actually a pretty solid player. Defensive back JT Gray. They did also sign wide receiver Michael Thomas to a 1-year deal, prove-it deal. Jameis Winston re-signed. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Defensive end to no Capasagon, something like that. Capasagon, we'll say. Was re-signed. And then running back Jamal Williams was signed as well. So I think pretty decent haul overall for them. The Jameis situation is crazy to me, though. Jameis is crazy. So that was wild.
It is, but I can see signing him as a backup quarterback because he's already familiar with the system. Because him being a starter is not, it wasn't it. So I could see them being a little bit better, a lot better. I mean, they're also really well from Drew Brees and Sean Payton. So yeah, that's a lot.
So we'll hit up some comments here real quick. Coach Dante, what up? My guy, Coach Dante, man.
What up, Coach Dante?
See, we do a lot of stuff with Coach Dante. We're going to be doing a Nuggets game here before the end of the season or in the playoffs. We got to get our schedules to sync up for it. But we're going to make it happen. And then Scrub Zero. Now the Dolphins have 3 QBs on the roster who can't stay healthy. This is quite concerning. Hey, man, they could just go one at a time. As one gets hurt, the next one comes in. They'll be all right. So then Rod Uncensored, our Patriots homer,
what's up,
says,
Rod?
what's up? Scrub says Pat should either get Lamar or go with Zappy. Mac Jones ain't that guy. So then Rod here with this blasphemous statement. So Rod is one of those people that is that succumbs very quickly to blasphemy. For y'all who may not know Rob, he knows his stuff, But when it comes to certain things, especially the Patriots, it's blasphemous things that protrude from his thought process out of his brain and into the universe. Patriots 24-17. Stop it. Just stop it.
I can't get
First
behind
of
that.
all,
Sorry, Rod, man.
First of all, you're not gonna hold us to those 17 points, so just stop that. Just stop it. But appreciate you watching, Robbie. You are my guy, but stop that.
Yeah. Can't agree.
Can't roll with that. Won't roll with it.
No.
All right, and now we're getting to the aforementioned New York Football Giants, one of the members of the NFC Beast, of course, along with the Arlington football team, who we discussed earlier. They re-signed QB Daniel Jones. A lot of people are upset that he got basically $40 million a year, but in this quarterback market, I think they got a little bit of a deal because he's a little iffy. They did franchise tag Saquon Barkley, and then they came away with one of the great steals of the modern era at tight end in getting Darren Waller for what I think was a third round pick.
Yeah, something like that.
They got linebacker Bobby Okereke. They got defensive lineman Rakeem Nunez-Roches. Punter Jamie Gillian, 2 years, $4 million. So on the low end for what I've seen for punters. They got Matt Breida back for another year. Sterling Shepard back for another year. They signed linebacker Jared Davis and wide receiver Isaiah Hodgkins and long snapper Casey Kreider. So some big moves and some of those back end of the roster moves as well. So a good mixture of the two. What do you got?
Yeah. As long as Darren Waller can stay healthy, that's a great pickup for him. I think they needed a good tight end. I mean, they just need to figure out. I mean, you mentioned a couple wide receivers there. They need a couple they need a wide receiver 1 and 2 there. But hey, that's a good place to start, man. You got a great tight end to use.
All right. So Rod gives the Giants a B grade. They're not finished, but I guess he's giving them a B so far.
Yeah, it's only March. It's only March.
All right, and then Scrub wants to let us know what the pick is. Compensatory third pick, number 100. So you get Darren Waller for the 100 pick. I get he's 30 years old. I'm gonna tell you, man. I haven't looked at the schedule for the Giants, but the Raiders better hope you don't play the Giants this year. Because see what you did is you ticked off Darren Waller. Because for those of you who may not know, Darren Waller has a hot wife, Kelsey Plum. He just got married. They both were in Las Vegas, and now you're going to send him across the country. Right? So I'm going to tell you right now, if they play the Raiders, I'm sorry for the Raiders.
Yeah, that's a dude that can go off.
And then Scrub also says we needed a dynamic pass catcher, and now we have Waller. I can't wait to see that 12 personnel. You're going to see it. You're definitely going to see it. And I hear that a whole lot, man. I definitely agree with you. I'm happy that the Giants are starting to come up because, got to have the division be strong so that way when we're winning games, people ain't questioning every single win.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then we'll go to the New York Jets. So what is reported on here so far is Alan Lazard, but we also know that they're signing Mercedes Lewis. We also know that they're going to sign what's my man's name? Aaron Rodgers' best buddy at wide receiver.
Cobb?
Yeah, Randall Cobb. Yeah. I would have said every name but that one.
Lazelle, I think it's the other
Lazard.
name.
Lazard. They got Lazard. And then linebacker Quincy Williams. Was a pretty good player. Greg Zuerlein, good kicker. And then safety Chuck Clark via trade. So not a lot of moves for the Jets, but the big thing with them is we're going to be adding Aaron Rodgers to this list once the Packers get the compensation right per Mr. Rodgers himself. Not us. Rodgers said this.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to skip the Eagles for now. We're going to come back to them and go through those in a few minutes. We got a couple more teams here, so we're going to run through those. Pittsburgh Steelers, defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. Cornerback Patrick Peterson. Guard Nate Herbig. Linebacker Cole Holcomb. Any thoughts on the Steelers moves, guys? So,
not really, man.
No. No, I bet y'all got some thoughts on this next one, though. The San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
The crybabies of the NFL. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, they signed from us. They signed QB Sam Darnold for 1 year contract. Safety Tashawn Gibson, lone snapper Tabor Pepper, cornerback Isaiah Oliver, defensive end Clylan Farrell, offensive lineman Colton McKivitz, wide receiver Jawan Jennings they tendered, defensive tackle Kevin Givens, and center Jake Brendel, who they've re-signed. So, they got better. They made one move that kind of stung a little bit, but I expected it to go somewhere. But hey, you got to get the bag while you can. Nothing but love for Javon Hargraves and what he did the years he was with us. Chase that bag at 30, brother. Do what you got to do.
Bro, you couldn't win anywhere else. You had to go to the ops.
I mean,
right
really.
now, after what happened, you could have got the bag. We had to go to there. They got all places. We beefing now.
I ain't even mad because I don't feel like he's gonna be as good as they think he's gonna be. Personally, it helps when you got the all-star team around you when you have a great season. That all-star team ain't gonna be the same in the 49ers. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have a good rush, but they don't have everybody coming back that they had either. Because guess what? They had to make room to pay you just like we did.
Yeah,
to pay who we got to pay. You know what I'm saying?
And then they got the rookie quarterback because he's gonna be back. So you got to play with him.
The Eagles diva. They took care of all that. They signed Sam Darnold.
What? Anyway, you have better luck with the rookie than Sam Darnold. Okay. Right.
What happened to Trey Lance? What happened to this dude?
He should be back sometime this year, but I think they're going to at least be starting with Mr. Irrelevant. We'll see how that rolls too.
Mr. Pretty.
Bro, I can't. That's one of the games I got circled. Be ready because it's coming right back at you again. And I don't want to hear no excuses after this next one.
I know that's right. So I'm going to run through the next two teams because I'm sure y'all don't have any thoughts about Seattle. They re-signed Mr. They wrote me off, but he ain't right back. Best line still. Defensive tackle Dremonte Jones. Defensive tackle Jerron Reed. Guard Phil Haynes. And the kicker Jason Myers. And Jason Myers, another kicker, 4 years, $22.6 million. I don't understand why we're paying these kickers this kind of money. But if you have, I just want people to understand, if you have kids that want to, be involved in football, but they may not have the same athleticism as some of the other guys, teach them how to punt and kick field goals. One of those two. Because they can make a lot of money, it seems like, and not have to put their bodies on the line.
Well, I mean, a kicker can't really seal the game, though. Either they going to miss the field goal or they're going to make it. So
$22 million?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's sad. And then Tampa Bay, they really didn't do much either. Their biggest move was they signed Baker Mayfield.
Bucker Mayfield.
Biker.
I guess that was impressed with his little backup, couple games he had.
Yeah, they signed cornerback Jamel Dean, defensive lineman Anthony Nelson, the aforementioned Mayfield, guard Aaron Stinney, and then linebacker Levante David. So, a couple of decent moves. I like the Levante David movement. He's a solid linebacker. Not a great one, but he's a good, solid player. In the right system, he can make some damage. So we got two teams left. But before that, let's see if we got any comments here. So we got a few. So Scrub Zero says the Jets are improving at QB, but I don't think Rodgers will lead them to the Super Bowl. I don't think necessarily trust him to get the Jets to the playoffs after last season. Scrub, he'll get them to the playoffs, I think. But any further than that, you're probably right.
Based on those other two teams, too, you got the Bills and the who else was in that? Bills. You don't have to worry about the Patriots, though, in that division. And the Miami Dolphins, if Tua can stay healthy.
Cincinnati in that division, too, right? Yeah.
They with the Steelers, and the Ravens, and the Browns, right?
And then the Steelers, D. Rod and Sensor says, and then Scrub Zero, the 49ers still need to solve their QB situation.
Straight up.
Scrub Zero, the ops.
He went straight to the ops. I couldn't believe it. I was at all teams. You gonna do this to us?
I hate the NFL. Appreciate you hopping on and checking us out as well, man. Nick Bosa seems like he can make anyone better. Laugh out loud. That is true, but You're not gonna make Hargrave look better than he looked last year. Scrub Zero says Sam. Who?
Exactly.
Scrub also says Big Gino got a bag. Hey, as long as you don't write back, they write you off. Do not write back.
He earned it.
I'm glad
Baker
Gino got
may not feel.
Right. Right.
I hate the NFL. It seems like Chiefs are finna make a move or a big move. They just restructured Mahomes' contract. Could be.
Maybe. They've been losing wide receivers and stuff,
Yeah,
so maybe they'll go out, try to make a run for like D-Hop maybe, or
maybe go trade for D-Hop or somebody. And the Patriots will win the AFC East.
Whoa.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
I got love for Rob. But, some of us let the homerism just arise a little bit too much.
Right.
So I'm just going to leave it at you can make your own judgment on those comments. But, yeah.
All right, let's get to the last.
Got a lot of work to do in the rest of this whole season if to make that happen.
A whole lot of work. Tennessee Titans.
Whole
lot. Tennessee Titans. Offensive tackle Andre Dillard was added. Defensive lineman Arden Key. He's a pretty good player. Offensive guard or center Daniel Brunskin. Linebacker Luke Gifford. Long snapper Morgan Cox. Linebacker Aziz Al-Shair. And defensive tackle Daniel Brunskill. So, a lot of line help, linebackers and offensive line and one defensive lineman. So, shoring up the trenches, something that makes sense. They're at least going to be rotational pieces. Some of them are starters. So, definitely makes sense. And then if you have thoughts on it, just hold them and we'll do them all together with the other representative of the NFC Beast, the Washington Commanders' best division in football. Respect it, honor it, and own it because you know it. It's the truth. They did sign defensive tackle Deron Payne, 4 years, $90 million. I can't even. That's all I can say about that. Offensive tackle Andrew Wiley, defensive back Danny Johnson, linebacker Cody Barton, linebacker David Mayo, offensive lineman Nick Gates, wide receiver Marcus Kemp. Of course, they signed Jacoby Brissett to be a quarterback on that roster. Don't know what it's going to be at this point. Defensive end F.A. Obata and cornerback Cameron Dancer was claimed off of waivers. So any thoughts on the Titans or Commanders signings?
No, just a lot of like depth signings, especially for like the Commanders and everything. They're trying to keep a couple guys they already had and just trying to fill out the rest of the roster.
Definitely. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about 10 minutes or so. We're not going to be too fastidious or too long-winded in this, but we have to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles on the Eagles Elite podcast, or we would be remiss. We shouldn't even have a podcast about the Philadelphia Eagles if we don't do that. So what I'm going to do for this particular one is I'm going to allow Wyatt to take the reins and give you the information on the moves that we made. If you want to do them all at once or you want to do them one by one, in the comments, however you want to swing it, right? Let's get into the Eagles.
All right, man. First off, start with the first signing, and we got Brandon Graham. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it wasn't official at that point in time. It is official as of right now. We signed him to a 1-year deal, brought him back. It was around $6 million. I mean, I didn't see any other reports about him taking any other offers. It seemed like he seemed like he definitely wanted to come back here for us. It's always great to have BG come back, especially off that great season he had last year. We might be asking him to do a little bit more than last year this year, though, depending on what happens as far as the draft and the rest of free agency. But, I mean, it's as long as he's putting that work in, keeping that Achilles solid, we should be all right.
Agreed. I love it.
Yeah. Next, we've got Jason Kelsey. Of course, we weren't very sure what was going to happen with him. But, the success of the season, going to Super Bowl, the podcast taking off, it seemed like it was a given. Jason Kelsey was going to be coming back. This one was a little higher. Well, I didn't have the numbers in front of me, but I know it was like a 1-year deal, and it was like 13 mil. Was it 14?
It was something around that.
Yeah, it was pretty high, but I mean, you have the best center in the NFL. I mean, you got to take the higher number. I mean, it's not as high as it could have been. Say if you went to somewhere else, took the bag, but I mean, he took a little bit discount here to stay home with us, though.
Definitely. Love that move as well. Eagles Deep, you got any thoughts on that one?
Love the moves we've done so far.
So far, then we got, of course, Boston Scott returning on a 1-year deal. Giants shaking in their boots. Got to see Boston Scott another 2 times this year. So, I mean, it's good to have, running back depth after losing Miles Sanders and everything. Speaking of running backs, the newest addition to the Eagles roster, we went out and scooped Rashad Penny, which was pretty surprising. I wasn't expecting us to. I didn't even know we had our eyes on him, but this is another one kind of similar like to Darren Waller with the Giants. If this dude can stay healthy, he can eat behind our O-line. This dude could be a beast, but the big thing is staying healthy, and that's where the rotation comes in. With the
you want to hear something crazy about that one? It's 1 year, $1.35 million is his base salary.
Yeah, super low.
Mm-hmm.
Super low. So who knows what happens? Maybe they elevate Trey Sermon. Maybe they go out and draft a running back in one of these later rounds somewhere, which we kind of expected. We talked about that previously. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but the Eagles are trying to keep the running back room cost pretty low going into the season because of everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
And of course, we got I would say the biggest surprise out of the free agency here so far for us. Our boy James Bradbury coming back, running it back on a 3-year deal. We're locking him in for a couple years now. We're not letting this dude go after having a great year. We're not going to let that penalty in the Super Bowl, hold anything back. We're bringing him back. And I mean, you see such like the fan reaction is great to this signing. So everybody's kind of just didn't even fault him for that super back call because it shouldn't have been called at that time. We've already went into that. But man, he was a top corner in the league last year. And for him to take this deal with us and turn down bigger offers from other teams, that shows about the culture in Philly and what he really wants to do. And that's go out and try to compete for another title.
Shout out to Bradbury, man. He could have did like the dude we're going to talk about here in a minute and chase the bag instead of show love to the team. But he chose not to go that route.
Yeah. And I'm
we did
glad.
also resign, right. We did also resign offensive tackle Brett Toff.
Mm-hmm.
So, elephant in the room. We got to discuss it. I'm going to let y'all get your thoughts first. I'll go last. Talk to me about Darius Slay. But before we do that, let me get back to the comments real quick, and then we can discuss y'all's feelings about a big play Slay. So right on scissor, 12-5. I told y'all what I say. That's all I got to say. Patriots 12-5.
Next.
We'll see.
You know what, man? We got to go this. This man says, so let's do it this way. Got to do it this way. This man says the Patriots are going to be 12-5 next year. This is what this man says. And you know what we got to say to him? There's only one thing that we can say to him because he said that to us.
Tell me he didn't just say that.
The look at the end is the best part.
That's the best part.
Yes.
Commanders are actually trying to build a team. Completely agree with that.
Trying to do something. They need a new owner, though.
Philly says she's excited Kelsey's back. Agree.
Absolutely.
All right. Scrub Zero. The son of a butter biscuit, Boston Scott.
The only reason we keep him around is just, for the Giants to just to rub it in a little bit more.
Great question, Philly. What's going on with CJGJ? So I'm going to give you a little information I just heard. We're working on the parameters for a 5-year deal with CJGJ.
Oh.
I don't know if this is true or not because this isn't, from one of the big three, but from a pretty reliable person that I follow, we're working on a 5-year deal with CJGJ. The terms are still being worked out, but everything looks like, obviously, until it's signed, it's not official until he agrees to it. But it looks like there's a great possibility that we'll be getting him back. So we'll hope that that's correct.
Need him back.
because he's the piece that is more important than the guy we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And
Yeah,
then y'all also
Fletcher
brought back
Cox
Fletcher
back.
Cox. We did 1 year, I believe he's
10
10
mil.
million. So yeah, that's a big one for us.
It's a little high, I feel, but it is lower than what we signed him last year for that 1 mil. I think it was like 14 mil last year.
This allows us to sign this as a dummy contract for multiple years and help the cap as well. So that's something else. So Rod Uncensored.
I mean, he can. I mean,
Slay come to Foxborough, America's team. So there's a couple of things I can say to that. There's a couple. But I think the one that is most apropos is just this. And I'm going to just leave that there. All right, so Eagles Diva, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Darius Big Play Slay and his time with the Philadelphia Eagles and the way that the relationship has, at least for the moment, ended?
I mean, Slay has fell off over the past couple of years. He has definitely been in the league for a very long time, but he did fall off a lot in the second part of the season. A lot of plays I seen him get burnt. He didn't play as well, or he was just playing too far off. But he is a leader and he is a vet, and he was the captain of the defense. So I always say that you need a vet on your defense to kind of help guide some of the younger ones. But I mean, I don't know, because there's reports saying that we're going to release him, and there's reports he's saying that he might be back. So I mean, if he stays, he stays. But he already know he can't get a 3-year guarantee. But Jennifer said that wasn't true. So I don't know. But if you want to stay with Philly, you have to take that pay cut, bro.
straight up gonna have to. Yeah, there was that report of like the 3-year, like all guaranteed deal that he wanted, the extension, and they're saying they were going to be releasing him. And then like the 4:00 deadline came around and everything. It's like, there's been no word on him even being released. So he's still, as of right now, an Eagle. So it's like, it seems like, and I saw there was a report coming out that like the Eagles are very reluctant to let him just walk away. They're trying to work something out with him. Who knows what's going to happen as of right now? I mean, we're hearing different things from every source, but I mean, earlier today, they were saying their goodbyes on Twitter. Like, it was as good as done, but I don't know. As of right now, it's leaning like he's going to be back, which would be great. If you're able to keep Slay, Bradbury, and CJ, that's great. It's just a matter of how well is it going to work within the scheme, because like you said, Slay did fall off that back half of the season. Is it because of his play, or is it because of like how Gannon was drawing up everything and wasn't putting him in the best positions? I mean, CJ mentioned, like, tweeted that like not long after the Super Bowl. So we don't know what it is. So I mean, who knows if they, in a new system under this new DC, maybe Slay will look like Slay again, but I don't know. That's the thing. That's why the Eagles didn't want to lock him down for another 3 years, 4 years, until he's 35, 36, So I don't know. If he's willing to come back on a cheaper deal, I'd be all for it, but I don't know, man.
So here's the facts for me. If we keep him, it's $26 million. That's not going to happen. If we cut him and we designated June 1st, let's save us $17.5 million against the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Darius Slay, man. Whether he's an Eagle, whether he's somewhere else. I mean, I'm not going to cheer for you on another team, but he came to this team as a leader on the defense when nobody else wanted to come, right? We didn't have free agents wanting to come to Philadelphia, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We wouldn't have had a Bradbury come if we didn't have a Slay, right? We wouldn't have had some of these other guys come if we didn't have a Slay because they wanted to play with him. Mm-hmm. Devontae Smith wouldn't be as good as he is if Darius Slay wasn't on him his first 2 years of practice, badgering them, teaching him stuff, showing him things from a defensive perspective to help him develop. So I have a lot of love for this guy, but I do believe that he's getting cut. Unless at the last hour he relented and said, "Okay, let's do a deal that's reasonable for the team as well as me." Outside of that, I do believe he's cut. I will miss his fire and his leadership, but the actual play on the field, as Eagles Diva so eloquently said a few moments ago, it has decreased. It's not the same as it was. Anybody who wants to pretend that it is and that Bradbury at this point in the career wasn't a better player for us last year, I mean, I don't know what games you were watching, but we definitely weren't watching the same games. Either I don't know football or you're just looking at Slate through rose-colored glasses. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident I know football, so I believe it's the other one. But, that's the only thing I can think of. I'll go ahead and throw my final thoughts out there. Man, I'm very excited about free agency. There's a lot of people from other teams are so worried about what the Eagles are doing and that you think the Eagles are not going to be good next year. But I got a couple of things for you. A couple of names I want you to think about. I want you to think about a guy named Reed Blankenship who plays safety. Remember, he's still there. I want you to think about a guy named Nakobe Dean who plays linebacker. He's still there. I want you to think about a guy named Jordan Davis who plays defensive tackle. He's still there. So we are losing some pieces, but understand this. We ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts from either of you guys before we close up for the week?
I'm just going to add on to what you were saying. Oh, go ahead, Diva. Sorry.
Just excited to see what happens. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on what you're saying. I mean, everybody we've lost so far, we've already drafted. They're pretty much a replacement. We already have that spot filled to an extent. So I'm not as. I mean, everybody's going to act like everything's on fire. That everyone's going to overreact. I mean, this is just the beginning of free agency. So we have a long way to go until training camp and the start of the season. I'm not worried about it right now, especially bringing some of these guys back who, like Bradbury, I wasn't really expecting to come back. So it seems like Howie's working his magic right now. There's still a long off season, but the only thing I'm really waiting for right now is that CJ/GJ. And once that happens, hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm waiting for the rest of that off season, getting to the season and training camp here. But that main deal I'm waiting for is CJ/GJ, and I'll be feeling great the rest of the off season.
I dig it, Scrub. Free agency does bring drama.
It does, yeah.
And then Philly will be looking forward to having you here with us next week. And again, thank everybody that's joined. This is your spot on Wednesday nights to hashtag the elite and talk Eagles. We interactive all the time. All new people, more than welcome to come in and talk about another team. And we can do that too, because we know football. But the primary focus on this show, of course, is always going to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to everybody who watched the show. Shout out to everybody in the comments. Shout out to everybody who watches the replay that weren't able to watch during the live portion. Come back and join us next week. We'll have another good show for you, and we'll dig more into what the Eagles need, what the Eagles have, and we should have some clarity on the CJ/GJ situation, hopefully by then, and the Darius Slay situation. So a lot to look forward to next week. I just want to end with hashtag Fly Eagles Fly, hashtag the elite.
Yes, sir. Fly Eagles Fly.
Let's go.
The kick is away, and the kick it's good! And the Eagles win!
It's hard to come to South Philadelphia and leave here with the win. You just don't come to Philadelphia and leave here with the win.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.